Hello everyone, today I'm going to be clearing the new Spiral Abyss floor 12 that just came out this week. So I just cleared chamber 3 and I can definitely say that this is tougher than the previous floor 12 because in the previous ones I didn't have to change my team. I just got 9 stars in one go, but in this one I actually had to change my team and redo each chamber to get 3 stars. So I can definitely say that this is quite tougher than the previous floor 12. Now before I show you my team comps, artifacts and all that, I have to put a disclaimer that each of these runs are actually done on different time periods. So I did the first chamber on the day itself, chamber 2 sometime later, and chamber 3 which I did just now. And a couple of things happen. As you can see before I did my intro, my Xiao, I pulled another Xiao, I got his C1. So this is for chamber 3, I have Xiao at C1 with triple dash, and I also pulled a Ningguang right after Xiao's banner ended. Keqing Ningguang is the featured 4-star for Keqing's banner, and also I got the free Ningguang from the Stand By Me event. So yeah, so just it's a disclaimer that some of these units have different constellations at a time. So chamber 1, chamber 2 is when I don't have C1 Xiao, and chamber 3 is when I do. Same goes for Ningguang. I only have her at C1 for chamber 1, chamber 2, and chamber 3 I had her C3. For the units I use for this new floor 12, I'm just going to be speeding through, so you can pause ahead if you want to check specifically on what they have. So starting off with my Venti, I have Amos Bow on, and I sometimes switch with Stringless with my Fischl. Artifacts, I have my 4-piece very decent. C0 talents are right here, and these are his stats for energy recharge, crit damage, attack, HP, and all that. And for my Xiao, I'm using my Deathmatch. My artifacts, I use this attack sense on him for chamber 1 and chamber 2, and I use this energy recharge sense for chamber 3 so that I can spam his burst. I didn't have his constellations on chamber 1, chamber 2. I have his C1 at chamber 3, and his talents is RSO. My Zhongli, level 80. I'm using the Favonius Lance, artifacts, 2-piece, Noblesse, and 2-piece Archaic, 0 constellation, and talents are so. My Bennett, not particularly not say useful, not particularly interesting because I just throw in whatever HP I had for him. I'm using the Festering Desire for the energy recharge, 4-piece Noblesse, C2 constellations, and his talents level as so. And my Ningguang, I actually use her for chamber 2 and chamber 3. Chamber 1 I actually used my Klee, so I kept swapping her gear. So this is the weapon that she had for chamber 2 and chamber 3. So I had Solar Pearl, her artifact, 2-piece Gladiator, and 2-piece Archaic. C1 Constellation when I did chamber 1, chamber 2. C2 and C3 when I had chamber 3. Her talents are as so. Obviously not level 10 when I did chamber 1, chamber 2. And her stats are as so. And I actually use Klee for chamber 1. So you saw with Sif, I had her use Solar Pearl, and her artifacts, yeah, pretty much same thing. I barely swap. Instead of this crit rate, I swap with crit damage for my Ningguang. C0 constellations, talents, RSO, Fischl. Like I said, I kept swapping between Stringless and Amos Bow, from between Fischl and Venti. Artifacts, 2-piece Turning Fury, 2-piece Wondrous Troop, C4 constellations, and her talents as so, and her attributes. You want to see him again. Next is my Chi. Using Sacrificial Sword for constant heals, 2-piece Gladiators, and 2-piece Maidens Beloved, C0 and talents as so. I actually should level her a bit more since her heals were actually quite useful for this floor 12. And yeah, her stats are as follows. Diona, another healer. I use Sacrificial Bow on her for spamming her elemental skill. Artifacts are 4-piece Noblesse, C5 Constellation, and talents are as so. And her stats. Next, I use Sucrose, I think, for chamber 1. I can't remember because I did it in different time periods. I'm just gonna just show you. So I have the Favonius Codex, War Piece, Viridescent, C6, Constellation, and her talents are as follow. Her stats. Next, who did I use? I think I used Xingyan for the first chamber, so I'm just gonna like glance through what she has, and yeah, that's gonna be it from my team. So now I'm gonna be showing you off how I did each chamber individually. Okay, so now for the actual fight. I gotta be honest, I don't really know what to say here other than just explain what's going on, because this floor 12, it does require some strategy, but it's mostly like how fast you can dish out your damage. So yeah, so that's the reason why it pretty much took me a while to get this out, because I didn't really know what I was doing. So in this first half, I'm using Venti, Klee, Zhongli, and Fischl. So Venti will use his burst whenever he can. Zhongli will keep putting up his shield to stagger his Geo Bishops, which is pretty good when you're using Venti's burst to keep them all in one place, and also Zhongli's meteor. And Fischl will throw in Oz every now and then, and Klee will cast Overload to stagger them, which you can actually pretty easily stagger if you have like heavy attacks or reactions. So I would spam Ventus Burst whenever I can, use Zhongli's shield so that I don't get staggered and get tossed around, because if you don't bring a shielder or you're not good at dodging, obviously I can't because of my lag, you're gonna get pushed around a lot, and if you're not careful you might just get one-shotted by the Geo Bishop's combos. So yeah, so I can't really know, don't really know what else to say about this fight other than keep having a shield up so that you can flip the Geo Bishops over, and also make sure you don't get pushed around like my Klee just now. I barely got away with it. And make sure if you can use freeze comms if you've got new and such, that's pretty much recommended if you're not able to just dodge and spam shield all the time. So that's the first half dealt with, and now for the second half, which is the same Geo Bishops. This time I'm using my Xiao, Bennett, Sucrose, and Xingyan. So I'm only playing Xingyan just because she has a shield, and also for the power resonance. So I would drop in Bennett's burst to give an attack buff to my Xiao and just plunge away. Xiao's plunge can also stagger. You can see it staggers the Geo Bishops in every hit. But the bad part is it actually pushes them back, so you have to keep dashing or move forward, which may or may not separate the Geo Bishop, so you're only dealing one damage to one Geo Bishop. And Sucrose, I forgot to mention Sucrose. Sucrose is also here for the animal resonance, and also because she's a pretty good like battery for Xiao, especially when for Chamber 1 and Chamber 2 I'm actually using the attack sense for my Xiao instead of energy recharge for Chamber 3. So I'm just trying to deal as much damage as I can. I still have 40 seconds on the clock, so I wasn't too worried, because I know Xiao with Bennett's attack buff will make short work of these Geo Bishops, especially when he can stagger them. So when it comes to taking damage, I wasn't too worried. So this is just me cleaning up the last Geo Bishop, spamming as much energy as I can so Xiao can get his burst up, and so I can just deal with the last one promptly. Okay, so now we're at chamber 2. Like I said, I changed out my team for each chamber. So now I have Venti, Xiao, Bennett, and Diona for the first half. So since it's just two Season Mages, so it's pretty much easy mode when you got Venti. So I was pushing this Cryo Season Mage like closer, so that both Season Mage get trapped by the vortex. So I try to deal as much damage as fast as possible with my Venti and my Xiao. So this is one of the weakness when using Venti when you're using a melee unit, because Xiao couldn't actually just use his plunge attacks while they're in the air. They actually have to be on the ground. But now the vortex is over, so I just switch to Bennett, drop his burst, and just switch to Xiao to just plunge on them. I started with the Sisson Mage first, I mean the Cryo Mage first, I don't know why, when the Electro one is more of a troubling, especially with the Electro Aura. But I dealt with them pretty quickly because of Venti being an absolute broken unit for like small units. You can just clump on one side. So now we're at the second half. I swap my Klee for my Ningguang with Zhongli, Fischl, and Chi-Chi. So Ningguang and Zhongli with the Geo Resonance and the Geo Buff is going to be complementing each other's damage. Fischl is going to be off-field DPS because I don't have anyone else level, and Chi-Chi for emergency heals if I need it. So I start off dropping Zhongli's shield as usual, dropping Oz and then his meteor, then just swap to Ningguang and focus on the Pyro Fatui agent first with the Pyro Aura, so that I don't have to deal with the fireballs that comes in, because that actually deals a chunk of damage to Zhongli's shield. So yeah, so this second chamber is actually the easiest one among the three chambers, because it's just humanoid enemies which you can just stagger and crowd control using like Venti, Jean, whoever you got. So I pretty much dealing away with these guys pretty much quickly. I have so much time left, got 1 minute and 10 seconds left, so I wasn't really rushing to get 3 stars for this because it's pretty much uh, the easy chamber for this floor 12. So not much else left to commentate besides just Ningguang dealing a lot of damage even at C1. So I was pretty excited when I got her C2 and C3 because that's going to add a lot more damage, especially being able to spam her Jade Screen whenever you summon a new one or when you use her Elemental Burst. Which I think if I didn't have her C2 or C3, I probably could have 3 start the third chamber, and that's, yeah, so that's about it for the second chamber. Now off to the third one. Finally, we're at the final chamber for floor 12. So in this first half, I brought Xiao, Venti, Bennett, and Diona. So the first half is 2 Ruin Guards. I use Venti to disable the one with the Geo Aura. Then I swap over to Bennett to apply some Pyro, use Xiao's elemental skill for some reason without waiting for Bennett's burst. Then I use Venti's burst to deal some damage, disable the other Ruin Guard. Then swap over to Xiao, dash a bit to get some of his energy back and plunge away as much as I can, trying to time my jumps properly so that I don't get hit by the Ruin Guard's attacks and also those landslides that came in because of the Geo Aura. So I dealt pretty good chunk of damage despite not having Bennett's ult, spamming Venti's burst as much as I can, applying an element so that it gets swirled. Since I have energy recharge on my Xiao and Bennett, their burst went up pretty quickly, so I drop in Bennett's burst, swap over to Xiao and use plunge attacks, and with the Bennett's attack buff, I should be able to deal with these Ruin Guards relatively quickly in just over a minute. So now I have more time for my second half, which is my Ningguang, Zhongli, Fischl, and Chi-Chi. Pretty much the same team I had for the second chamber. And for this Ningguang, like I said before in my intro, I have her at C3 after pulling a bit on Kaching's banner and getting the Stand By Me event, the free unit. So I could spam more Jade Screen here, so her damage was improved by a lot. So these 2 Ruin Graders are easier to handle, I think, than the Ruin Guards because their attacks are slow and they don't really like shoot rockets. I can handle the lasers, but not really the rockets. But the Cryo Icicle is still something that I can't handle if I didn't catch them on time because of my lag. So that's why I brought Chi-Chi here for her overheals. Since her heals pretty much needed here, and I sometimes use Elemental Burst to escape the damage from those icicles. So I'm trying to focus on the Ruin Grader, the one with the Cryo Aura first, so I don't have to deal with those icicles anymore. And I guess these ones also does that spin attack that made me not get close. I would spam Oz as much as I can. Ningguang at critical HP tried to swap over to Zhongli to put shields and drops meteor. And that's the Cryo Ruin Grader done. So now I spam Chi-Chi's heal so that Ningguang can have some HP so she doesn't die, and pretty much that's the whole video, which basically just spam as many attacks as you can and try to dodge their attacks while doing it under 3 minutes to get 3 stars. Yeah, like I said in the intro, this is pretty much slightly tougher than the previous floor because I could do chamber 3 in like with 40 seconds to spare. This one I barely had like 10 seconds and I had to get C3 Ningguang for this. So yeah, so I could say don't worry about trying to 3-star this if you're not a spender like me or you don't have the right team comp. Just get it over and done with and you basically get the same rewards, maybe not the Primo Gems, but the other rewards are pretty good too for the 5-star artifacts and such. And that's about it.